I received an email this week from a viewer out there, and I wanted to share it with you. Dear Bryan at AutoEV, big fan of the channel. Why aren't you on TV? Lovely chap. I like him already. But I wonder if you can help me with the problem. My mad old uncle recently passed away. Sorry for your loss. And left me £200,000 with a note that says that I have to buy the very best electric car that I can. I obviously don't have enough for a Rolls-Royce Spectre, but I do want to blow all of the money. What is there out there, and can you help? Yours sincerely, etc, etc. Well, I think I can help you. So, Mr. Viewer, how does this tickle your pickle? Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the BMW i7 M70. And as always, welcome to AutoEV. Love or loathe its looks, there's no getting away from the fact that the i7 oozes quality and luxury, and we know it is a great electric car because we've driven the standard i7. But as you've been used to with BMW, this is sort of like the M-fettled one. It's not a full-blown M car like an M3 or an M4 or an M5 is, but it's been tickled a little bit by the M department to give it a little bit extra over the standard car in the range. However, that's not always such a good thing, because as we've learned in the past, sometimes those M-fettled ones actually have to give way to the lesser models in the range being better. The i4 is point in case. We always think that the eDrive 40 is a better car than the i4 M50, for instance. So is that going to be the same here? Because obviously what you immediately think is the more you spend, the more you get. But that's not always the case in any car range. As we know with the EQS from Mercedes-Benz, this car's main rival, the AMG model, isn't particularly the best EQS you could probably buy. So how was this one going to get on? However, before we start the road test, let's take a little snapshot at what the BMW i7 M70 is all about. So the M70 version of BMW's i7 is the flagship model in the range, and it is the all-electric equivalent of the combustion-engined M760e. It features dual motors, so in BMW speak X-Drive, and produces a staggering 650 brake horsepower and 1050 Newton meters of torque. It has a 101.7 kilowatt hour usable battery that should give, according to WLTP figures, a combined range of up to 338 miles. And prices start from £164,000 before any options are fitted. Now, there's no getting away from the fact that this is a very expensive motor car. It's more expensive than the standard BMW i7, which isn't exactly cheap. So is it worth the premium to go for the M70? Well, of course, the only way we can find that out is by putting it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, the AutoEV one. And the AutoEV road test is kindly brought to you by Anderson EV, the premium wall box charger for your home. Born, bred and made in the UK, it is a design-led wall box charger for those of you who love your homes as much as your cars. Now, when you go for the M70 model, then obviously it comes as an M Sport, whereas the standard i7 you can have as an Excellence trim, which does away with a lot of the black plastic that's around the front of the car, which is no doubt in my mind is the worst aspect of the car. But I have to admit, in a dark colour like this kind of satin blue finish here, you're going to think I've gone mad. I don't mind it. I've started, because it hides, it's the black plastic that I don't like. And this dark colour hides it. You don't really see this all here. If you had it in white or silver, all this here is done in black, and it just looks weird. But in a kind of dark colour or black, you know, you're just going to hide all of that. And of course, it also tones the front end of the car down. So yeah, maybe I'm starting to lose my marbles a bit, but I'm starting to quite kind of like the front of this car. I mean, the most controversial aspect of it is obviously the massive double kidney that's obviously not a grille, and this split light treatment here, where you've got the DRLs and turn indicators up here, and then actual headlights sit below them here, and obviously there's body through the centre of them. And now they now do this on the X7, you know, the large SUV, and again, it's quite challenging. It's a challenging looking car anyway, but on that car it's really, but yeah, kind of getting used to it, if I'm honest. Maybe I need to sit down. Maybe it's the sun. I don't know. Anyway, as I say, look, love it or loathe it, it's here, and it is. There's no denying it's very distinctive looking. There are elements, however, away from that I do like about it. I love, as I say, the sculpture of the bonnet, and again in this kind of satin finish paint, it's got a nice kind of, I don't know, you can just see the kind of the flow of the bonnet looks really good. And then of course you get the big BMW badge kind of nestled in there, and of course it's got the blue ring round it because this is the electric one, whereas the standard, because remember what I said, this is a 7 Series. The i7 is available as a 7 Series with combustion engine, so obviously it doesn't have the blue ring round the badge. The big double kidney grille is obviously filled in. There's no grille there. You've got a radar sensor there, you've got a front camera there, of course you've got your M badge there because this is the M70, and all the cooling is done down at the bottom here. And there's some good aero work going on, you know, there's some nice kind of little air curtains tucked in at the side there that take airflow around the massive wheels around the side. But look, as I say, not everyone's going to love this car, there's no getting away from that, but I don't think MD can deny that it's not distinctive looking. And what I do like about this one, it has the iconic glow around the grille. Now I've got that in my iX2 and I really like that because it really gives it some presence at night with these lights. The lights are excellent, you know, I've got to give them fair play, the technology of the lights is excellent. But yeah, it's whether or not you like the look of it is going to be the first hurdle. But thankfully, I think the rest of it looks really good. Do you see what I mean? When you move around the side, when you kind of lose that kind of front end, the rest of it is pretty much 7 Series. You know, the standard kind of 3-box design that the 7 Series has always been. It's got some really sort of, you know, it's very flat on its panel work, just a nice strong shoulder line crease through there. You know, a nice kind of sweep up from the sort of the A-pillar into the roof line, and then again, it just sweeps back nicely into this rear pillar. And of course, you get the traditional BMW Hofmeister kink here at the back. Obviously privacy glass, you know, as you'd expect on this car, and it's got this infilled kind of back window which actually has a little kind of love heart in it. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that on the i7s, it's got a little love heart there. I don't know why, but it's there, it's quite cool. Again, the darker colour, a lot of it's toned down, so the black mirrors, the gloss black mirrors, the gloss black door handles, the flush door handles, they're toned down on a dark coloured car. So again, it's another reason why I'd probably say go for a darker paint colour on the car, because I say it just tones everything down and doesn't make it look quite as, ooh, that's a bit, The big M badge on here, yeah, not quite sure that's needed quite so much, rather than just maybe just a little M badge, but there you go, it's got it. 21-inch wheels on the car, Pirelli P0 tyres. They're not eco tyres. This is well, it's the M Vettel car. I'll talk about the performance side of it, obviously, when we get to performance and handling, but don't think of it as it's like a proper M car, like an M3 is to a 3 Series, but that's for later on. There's different design of alloy wheels you can have. These I think are really nice, the kind of black with the kind of diamond turn facings, bits in them. They're quite aero optimised, again, to keep airflow, you know, sort of going around the car in a really efficient way. And that's what I quite like about it. You know, as I say, although they're flat surfaces and things, it's designed with sort of like purpose. Now down at the bottom you get the gloss black kind of sills as well. The doors, as I say, there's the flush handles, you just put your hand in there and pull the little pad and they open. Of course they've got soft close as well, so when you just close them they pull themselves in. And of course, being the M70, you get the M designed mirrors. Sorry, there's a plane going over. M designed mirrors where you get the, you know, the sort of the airflow through there, so that's nice as well. And it looks all in proportion. That's what I also like about it, you know. It doesn't look, you know, as I say, apart from the front end, which is quite tall and a little bit maybe, the rest of it, as I say, is very traditional 7 Series, and you can see the lineage and the heritage of the other 7 Series cars in this car. So yeah, I quite like it. See what I mean about the rear pillar, the way it just flows into this bootlet. Now the new 5 Series, the i5 is like this as well, where it just has nice gentle flow into this kind of sloping bootlet. Of course you get a little kind of spoiler tacked on the side there. Big shark fin area up on top of the roof there. But yeah, this is a really nice, and the glass area here, you know, there's no sort of like extraneous trim and stuff around it. It just all looks really kind of minimalist and nice and tight lines, and I like that. There's a lot of attention to detail gone into the car, and I do like attention to detail. At the back, well, again, you know, I quite like it, but there's some people, again, I've looked at it and gone, oh, it's a bit challenging, but I don't know, I don't mind it. The bumper sticks out a little bit much, maybe. Maybe that's what kind of throws you. And then you've got this kind of diffuser area down at the bottom, again in the black plastic, which is another reason I'm saying to go for a dark coloured car. Apologies, I did wash the car this morning, but driving here it's got a little bit water stained. Big BMW roundel, as you'd expect, obviously, and you get your little camera tucked into the bottom of the badge, and there, of course, model designation on this side, M70, your beautiful kind of LED lights there. Your boot lid release is just a button there, so you don't have to reach underneath the actual number plate housing there to get your hands dirty, so it's just a button you press and that releases it. And of course then you've got your number plate down at the bottom there. Right, we're not going to go on too much about this because you're either going to like it or you're going to go, oh, that's hideous, and children are going to run screaming. Personally, as I say, I'm now getting used to the car. I'm getting used to the way BMW designing their cars. I'm not saying they're good looking, but I'm just starting to sort of like, you know, I don't mind it so much. I didn't think it was it's conscious. There's still some cars in the range that I just would not touch with a barge pole. That hideous big SUV they do, the XM, I don't know what on earth they were thinking with that, because that, I'm sorry if you have one, but that to me is just an abomination. But this, okay, practicality wise, you are looking at 500 litres of boot space, which is the same as the iX, their SUV, not the big horrible XM thing, the iX, which they're all electric SUV. 500 litres, it's okay that, you know, it's all right. As you can see, we can get the 4 AutoEV suitcases in, plus there's room for extra, you know, rucksacks or small bags or whatever, and I'm sure you could probably get a couple of, you know, bags of golf sticks in or whatever they are in there, you know, sort of like instead of the suitcases, if that was your bag, if you pardon the pun. But that is 110 litres less than you get in the EQS from Mercedes-Benz, and obviously it's a 3-box saloon, remember, whereas the EQS, oddly, is a hatchback. So there's maybe a little bit more practicality when it comes to the EQS. There is, however, as I say, a relatively square boot. It's a little bit, there's ridges at the side which do make it quite tight. So although we've got the suitcases in, if I take these two out, I don't know if you can see this, it just kind of comes up at the side a little bit there and curves up, so it's not quite a kind of flattish floor, it's just a kind of centre section that's flat. But as I say, you can certainly get, you know, sort of like a reasonable amount of luggage in there. There's also underfloor storage, a good deep well in there for cable storage as well. So whilst there's nothing up at the front, there's no extra storage up there, it's probably enough for most people's needs. And as I say, the fact that you can also store your cables in it without them having to use a separate bag lying loose in the boot, it's pretty good. The other thing about it is obviously it's quite nicely finished, as you'd expect, so there's no exposed hinges. You know, the hinges are covered and they go into sort of like the sides of the car, they don't cut into the boot, you know, crushing luggage as such. So whilst, as I say, that space isn't quite as flat and usable as you might get in the EQS, it's okay, and as I say, the finish of it is quite nice inside. So yeah, it's all right, let's say that. Now, normally when I do the back seats of cars, I sit behind the driver's seat because I want to show you what the space is like behind me as a driver. But as you can imagine, in a car the same like the i7, there's going to be bags of space behind a shorty like me. I mean, let's be honest, I'm only 5'8". I mean, it's vast. I can barely see the seat, let alone touch it or anything like that. However, the reason I'm jumping on this side is there's a few things that I want to show you. Now, obviously the i7, you can option it with just huge amount of stuff. But first of all, let's just talk about the comfort before I go any further than this, because the comfort back here is off the chart. It really is. Now, this particular car, and I'll talk about the options and things maybe a little bit more later on, but what I like about BMW at the moment is they're exploring kind of new materials. Now, traditionally in this type of car, what you would have had back here is just loads and loads and loads and loads of soft leather and all the rest of it. This car has just got a tiny little bit of leather up here. This has got merino wool and cashmere blend on the seats, and I love that. This feels, I don't know what it's going to be like after years. It might kind of start to bauble. You have to get one of those kind of things, you know, you do your jumpers with. But I absolutely love the fact that it doesn't use all leather. You can have leather if you want. You can have full leather if you want. But I like this. I think this is lovely. Now, I took my other half and her best friend the other week to a concert, and they sat in the back here, and they just said how lovely and comfortable it was. There was loads of room, and she's tall. You know, my other half's a lot taller than I am. And her friend Annie, they had loads of space in the back just to sit here and just kind of chill out and relax before they went and watched Crowded House, who seemingly were very, very good. Anyway, You've got the kind of the pillows on the backs of the head restraints here, just taking this in your back. Yeah, this is nice. I do like this. There's loads of space. There is a transmission tunnel, however. That's the only downside. Remember, this is not a bespoke EV platform. Whilst it was designed primarily as an electric car, it also has to accommodate a combustion engine. So it is 2 seats, really only in the back. You could get a third person sat here in terms of the space here, but there is a transmission tunnel there. So that is a downside. There's no flat floor. However, the rest of it is perfect, I would suggest. You have also this flip down armrest here, which has a wireless charging pad on it as well, and some decent storage and some USB-C ports back there. You also have in the doors little touchscreens about the size of an iPhone. So if you can imagine that, and you can control things such as the climate control, because obviously you get 4-zone climate control, and if you touch this, it says swipe up to unlock. So if I go to the home button here, I can adjust the seats. So I can also recline the seat, and the reason I'm sat on this side is to show you this. So if I press this, if I do this right, you see that it's moving the front passenger seat, tipping it forward and moving it all the way forward. There we go. It doesn't have a mat pocket in the back of that seat because it's got a little flip down. Look, there we go. And now the back's reclining. Oh yeah. And then a little footrest. I mean, I'm too short to use that footrest. That's how short I am. But oh yeah, that's lovely. And you think to yourself, all right, okay, I'm back here, I'm reclined, I'm comfortable. What else can I do? You can massage yourself because there's a massage function as well in both the back seats. You can do that. What you can also do, however, if I press this, okay. Where is it? Come on. There we go. Yeah, I just had to get the right button. TV. So you get this widescreen 8K Amazon Fire TV that flips down from the ceiling. All the blinds have gone up now. Yes, keep using. So you can use this touchscreen. Now, the aspect ratio doesn't mean you get the full kind of width, and I can't show you stuff on it because obviously I'd be breaching copyright thing. But basically up here what I have is, I've signed it into my Amazon account and my Netflix account. So when we came back from dropping the girls off at the concert the other night, my daughter sat in the back and watched about 3 episodes of her favourite show on Amazon. She just sat in the back here with her feet up watching that. I mean, it is brilliant. I mean, the way it's packaged as well is actually very good because the blind sits above it. And then obviously if you're not using that, that can be open. So you get the panoramic sunroof and the blinds go down and all the rest of it. And also in the roof as well, at night, they've got LED strips in the glass. So it gives this ambient glow and design in the interior. I mean, when we talk about luxury, you know, as I say, forget wood and leather. This is what people want now. Connectivity, space, new type of materials that are used. You don't get this in a Mercedes-Benz EQS, and that's my problem with that car. The S-Class was always the epitome of that sort of like, you know, top-end luxury car, that sub-Rolls-Royce Bentley style of car, and yet it has none of this. It's got a lot of space, that's it. This knocks that car out the park as far as I'm concerned if you're in the rear. This is lovely. But I have to get out now because I have to film the rest of the view. So, there we go. But this is cool. I love it. Brilliant. It's expensive though, but we'll get onto that a bit later. Now, if you're not sat in the back and you're up here, doesn't mean to say that you don't have a few toys that you can play with. I mean, obviously you don't have a flip down TV from the ceiling, but you do have a very, very nice dashboard in front of you. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this because it is pretty much as we've seen in the standard i7 that we have road tested, which I'll pop a link up to that review. And it's also very similar to what you get now across all BMWs, in fairness. So it's their operating system 9. It's this one continuous kind of sweep, and it's quite nice because it's curved. It's this curved display, and that's what I like about it. So it curves towards the driver. It's maybe not the sort of like the impressive, you know, sort of ness of the Mercedes-Benz Hyperscreen that you get on the EQS, but of course the BMW counters by looking after rear passengers more and just allowing driver and front passenger to get on with the job of sort of like, you know, cosseting them. So, you know, horses for courses. I'll briefly go through this. You've got your main driver control here, display here, sorry, that's in front of you, which you can obviously as well. You can change what it shows you at the front. You get augmented reality as well, so it shows you the camera there. So if you're using the sat nav, it will tell you here on the actual display, you know, turn right, turn left, fourth exit on the roundabout type of thing. So it'll show you using the front camera. That's quite cool, quite like that. You can have your media displayed in here. You can have, you know, trip meter in the main there, or you can have just what, you know, the driving modes, the content that it says here. You can also have where else is it? You can have the head-up display. You can change that. That's up there. Obviously you won't be able to see it, but you can change that to show you different ways that it can display things. So yeah, there's a lot there that you can have to display depending obviously on what you want to see, or dare I suggest what you need to see. I quite like it to have the navigation on this side and then use this side maybe for media. Talking to media, obviously Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, wireless is standard, as you would expect. And you got a wireless charging pad down in there for your mobile as well, which is big enough to take, you know, some of the biggest phones that you can get. So that's again quite good, and of course it's a rubberized mat so it doesn't slide around. I like the i7 because it retains the iDrive controller. That's what I do like about it. I do miss that in my little iX2. It uses all the touch screen, but actually what you can, you know, you can use this here to just scroll through, and it's easier for the passenger, I think, rather than leaning across and touching the screen. And also as well, it means that you don't get dirty kind of fingerprints obviously across there as well. You can have things like an interior camera. If I do this, there we go, loading the app, here we go, look, it shows you the interior camera. Don't know why you can have that, but there you go, you can have that. Take a single photograph, tells you to smile. Self-timer, it can record video. Don't know why, but there we are, so that's that. You press the home button to go back, there we are. And in this area around here, I've got your capacitive sort of buttons. So for your My modes, you just press the thing here, and then obviously there you have there, depending obviously on what you want. Digital art, theatre, relax, personal, sport, efficient. Now this just, things like the sport for instance, if I press that, when you're driving it kind of grips the seat in, and as you can see it gives the BMW M colours now through the ambient lighting. You know, so you get the red, purple and blue come through now, and obviously what that also does is kind of sharpen up throttle response and steering weight. We'll obviously chat about that when we drive it, but that's what the sport is there. But you can also just change, and obviously the same with efficient, that will dull things off. That's like your eco mode. But if you just want to change the kind of the sort of like the ambience inside the car, you can choose to relax, for instance. Now the massage function on the seat started. It's closed up all the blinds to make it feel a bit cozier inside. So yeah, so it can do all of that. So that is, you know, I mean, there's lots in there, and of course there's the theatre mode for the back passengers, and then have things like there's something called digital art, which does a thing called Quantum Garden, a digital piece of art from artist Cao Fei. No idea who that is. And of course you get your BMW iconic sounds as well, so the Hans Zimmer electronic sounds, you know, to not to mimic an engine sound that doesn't mimic it, but you know what I mean, instead of the engine sound you get that. So yeah, so all of that's up in there, and as I say, I quite like having the iDrive controller, so that's something I do like. Physical controls, most of them are capacitive touch buttons here, so you know, physically pressing the button brings up, say, nav or the telephone, or media, depending what you want, or you know, to home, so you can go into that. And then you've got the scroll wheel for volume, which I really like, being able to adjust the volume just with your thumb on that, rather than trying to do it through a touch screen or even up through there. It's just simple just to scroll up and down using that, so I do like that. Your transmission is just this lozenge switch here that's behind it. You pull that backwards and forwards, and that's nice and easy to. How do you turn these massage seats off? I don't like these. I'm not a big lover of massaging seats. Some people do like them. I don't. Not a big lover of it. Bear with me a second while I try and find out where it is. This is the only thing I will say with a lot of these kind of cars, and BMW, you know, they're as guilty as anybody else. Things are kind of buried in menus. I'd really just like a button where I can turn that off. You know, I just want to turn off the massage seats. Now I've got to find where the blooming heck it is. Seat comforts, way down there. Massage. Massage. Has that turned it off? No, it's still going. Why is it still going? Why is it going? Turn off. Jeez, there's so much. Why is it all that? Just turn it off. That's all I want. It's still going. I don't know what I've done. Maybe it's because it's in that mode. So if I just... Where did I have it earlier? Sport. Nope, it's still going. I don't know what I've done wrong. There we go. See what I mean? It's quite complicated. There's a lot to know about it. You've got to really learn the car. Oh no, hang on, that's stopped now. No, it's still going. Never mind. Right, so there's a lot to learn, and a lot of things are still buried in menus, which is a bit of the downside, I think, with some of these cars. As I say, something as basic as that, as a massage function, I'd like to be able just to switch on and off with a button, rather than going, you saw where it was right down the bottom of that menu. So yeah, it's not great in that sense. Heating and ventilation, for instance, that is in this screen. So when you press the screen, it brings up, it's this one here, brings up here. Now, what you can now do is you can adjust your temperature on the screen there, and you can adjust the airflow and how strong you want it. And obviously you've got either side, you know, it's kind of duals, you split sides, you know, if your passenger wants it slightly, the fan off, the driver wants it on, you can do that, have it separately. The face vents are beautiful. They're just the little slit in here below the fascia light here, and then you can control that via these little kind of rubberized knobs, and you barely can see them, but they are there. So it's nice they've kind of concealed buttons like that. But as I say, why can't you just conceal a massage button just with a seat when it's on the seat and I can stop it from doing stuff? Yeah, there we go. So your climate control is there, but it's always on. You'll notice here along the bottom of the screen, these kind of shortcuts are always there. So for adjusting the temperature, it is just as simple as that. And if you want your heated seat or ventilated seat or heated steering wheel, you press that and it brings up this little sub menu. So some stuff isn't too buried, it's just there's other stuff that is really buried. There we go. Right, enough's enough. So wireless charging pad, I think I've talked about that. Your cup holders, which you can cover as well. There at the front there's two of them. They're big enough for, you know, water bottle and coffee flask. You put on this, you've got a reasonable bit of storage in here. It'll take, say, my sunglasses case and wallet, and there's a couple of USB-C charging points in there. The other thing to say is when you've got the heated seats on in the car, the heated armrest as well. It's got heated armrests on this in the middle and the side of the doors. That's nice. And it's the materials that I was talking about in the back that I love about this car. I mean, okay, this one's got the kind of carbon fibre here, which I don't know if I do like that or not. I'm not sure. I'm yet to decide on it. But it's the seat material I love, where you've got this merino wool cashmere blend in the bottom, and then the soft Napa leather on the top, and then in the head restraints. It's got a Bowers & Wilkin audio system that is simply mind-blowing in this car, with speakers in the seats as well, which is fantastic. So if you're a big music lover like I am, you'll really appreciate the sound quality that you get from it. My usual bugbear is the steering wheel's slightly too thick, but it's, you know, the seating position itself is nice. The seats, as I say, I can't fault them for comfort. They've got enough lateral support down the sides and down the sides of my thighs. They've got a good length in the squab, that's fine. They're obviously electrically adjustable with 3-stage memory. As I said before, they're massage, which you can't turn off. They're ventilated and heated as well, you know. And then there's some capacitive buttons in the sort of like that you see in this crystallised glass here for opening the glove box, for instance. You press that, and it was a glove box, but you got to shut it manually. So I don't know why they just didn't put a button there, but there we go. Heated rear screen, maximum defrost, hazards, and you see that when you press that it flashes the whole thing, so that's quite cool. And then on the door trim you've got your 3-position memory that are in that sort of like bit there, but then you've also got the physical controls on the door panel here for the window switches, the mirror switches, and controlling the rear blinds. There's a boost paddle to give it that 10-second boost to torque, which it has more than enough of. But yeah, it's just a lovely interior, this. So you lack the sort of theatre, if you'll pardon the pun, of the EQS with its big hyper screen. But as I say, that's countered because the i7 does it more for the back passengers, which in a car of this market space, I think is probably the more important one, believe it or not. I think there's more likely someone's going to be driven in this style of car than maybe is going to drive it. I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit general out there, maybe I'm being a bit too, I don't know, general with that. But I think looking after rear passengers might be slightly more important in a car of this market than the front ones. So I don't, and then this is hardly a bad place to sit. God, it's beautiful in here, you know, in terms of the quality of it, how soft everything is, the seat comfort, the driving position, the clarity of the dashboard is more than enough. So I don't mind so much, you know, the lack of this, like the big kind of hyperscreen style of the EQS, to have this here and a really easy to use operating system. However, like I said, there's maybe just a bit too much still buried in menus trying to find it, and I still can't turn this massage thing still going. I don't know what I've done, but it's still going and it's really annoying me. But other than that, I love the interior of the i7. I think it's absolutely mind-blowingly good. Now the M70 doesn't get any different battery to the standard i7, so you're looking at a 101.7 kilowatt hour usable capacity, and that should give, according to WLTP figures, a range of up to 338 miles. Now that's 50 miles less than the standard i7 gets, obviously because of the extra power and various different other bits and pieces. The EV database reckon that you should still see a usable combined range of around about 300 miles, so I think that's fairly decent. And having driven a standard i7 up to Scotland, which I did in my original road test, yeah, it's very achievable. So I have to say, in terms of, you know, its range, I do find the i7 quite an efficient car. Now, of course, we were talking about the aerodynamics of it earlier and the way the airflow managed around the side of it, and that does help. So yeah, so you are looking at a good 300 miles, as long as you're not too silly with your right foot, I would suggest. Now, charging speed, it's 195 kilowatts. It's okay, it's not brilliant. Others do it, you know, faster for a lot less money. But bear in mind, as I say, the i7 sits on a shared combustion engine platform as well, so that you don't get other things such as, you know, vehicle to grid, vehicle to load, or 800-volt architecture, for instance. So, you know, there is a compromise to be made there. But still, your 10 to 80% charging benchmark should be done in round about the 28 minutes if you do it from a charger fast enough for the BMW's capability. Now, the car comes with an onboard 11 kilowatt charger as standard, so if you have the faster 3-phase electricity at home, then you can charge the car up, because remember, it's a big old battery, this. You can charge it up in round about 11-12 hours. However, if it's a more standard 7 kilowatt wall box that you have, then you're looking at just over 16 hours, which is a fair length of time. Now, talking of wall boxes, if you are looking, you know, at buying an electric car and you're thinking about a wall box, then why don't you consider Anderson EV, who are the proud sponsors of the AutoEV road test review. Born, bred and designed in the UK. They've got aesthetics as well as technology in them. Why stick an ugly plastic box on the side of your beautiful home? Why would you do that? No, take a look at one that's been designed properly to integrate well into your home. They've got combinations of over 200 different designs that you can have, including one by renowned car designer Ian Callum. The Anderson EV wall box chargers for those of you who love your homes as well as your cars. Now, the M70 produces 650 brake horsepower from twin motors. It also produces 1,015 Newton meters of torque, which is enough to get this 2.7 ton Leviathan to 60 miles an hour from rest in just 3.7 seconds. But for all its big torque and lots of power and all the rest of it, that's not the bit that impresses me. Now, the one thing I will say about BMW with these sort of like M-fettled products is that normally with them, they have a tendency of not really delivering kind of the sweet spot in the range, you know? So when we drove the i4, the M50 didn't feel quite as sharp a tool as the eDrive 40. I always felt that's the best car in the i4 range, and the M50 just didn't really know what it wanted to be. There was a part of it was, you know, is it a kind of electric M3? Is it, you know, just a go faster version? What is it really? With the i7 M70, it's like the M department have discovered a new string to the bow. And this is what sets this car apart. Because not only is it fast, as you'd expect a car from the M department, not only does it handle well, as you'd expect a car from the M department, but it's also quiet, refined, and comfortable. It's like, oh, M department have gone, oh, we can do luxury as well as sports. Yeah, you can. And by God, you can do it well. Now, I'm driving down a road now that's the bypass to my village, and there is a lot of like surface imperfections on this road, but there's one in particular, a sort of expansion joint, that no matter what car you take it in, it sends this judder through the car. The only two cars that have managed to like iron it out relatively well is the Mercedes-Benz EQS and, believe it or not, the Citroen EC4. And I'm going to take that at some speed in this car now, because I have a funny feeling this is going to do well here. Now it's just coming up here. It should throw the car completely offline. Nope, didn't do that. Wow. It's a horrible piece of road, and I go across it in my X2 or my Mini or even a big Jeep Grand Cherokee, no matter the car, and it just bangs through the whole car, but not here. This is incredible what they've done with this car. This is absolutely incredible, this car. Yes, it's quick. Yes, it is. And yes, it handles well. But it's just the other stuff it does is brilliant. Now, anything behind me? Let's have a quick look. So let's have a little squat out of this speed limit here. Okay, that's quick. That's quick. And brakes. Oh, jeepers creepers, Batman. Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Now, if you activate the brake regen, which is this B mode here, so I'll go from D into B, and I come off the accelerator, there's nothing behind me, it will bring the car up to a complete halt and hold it on the brake. There you go. It also has adaptive brake regen, so in other words, it will use the GPS system. So if you're coming up to a roundabout, it knows where you are and it'll apply the brakes as you come to the roundabout or a junction. It will also use the front camera, so if the person in front starts to slow down, the camera will pick that up and it'll start to apply the brakes for you as well, without the cruise controller. It's a really clever system. I mean, lots of cars do employ it, but it really, you've got to get used to it in the BMW. That's the one thing I will say, because my X2's got it, and you've got to get used to it. But once you do, and you learn to kind of trust it a little bit, it is very impressive. The other thing that, as I say, impresses with this car is how manoeuvrable it is for a big car. I fling it into this bend there. That's pin sharp. I mean, it's not an M3, but for a big car like this, you just change the direction of this roundabout. Yeah. Jeez, oh. How have they done it? It's 2.7 tons. How have they done this? It feels communicative. I'm getting feedback. I know exactly where the wheels are. It's getting the power down. It's turning. It's a huge thing. And talking of manoeuvrability, it's not just in bits like that around tight country lanes that it's manoeuvrable. But, if you're in a tight car parking space, it turns really quickly, lock to log. It's really decent the way it allows you to sort of get the car in. It's got a clever thing on it as well, where you can learn it to park. I think I mentioned this, where you can sort of teach it. If you've got an awkward driveway, and maybe you know you or your partner aren't very confident about getting into it, well, once you do it, you can record the path, and then the car will do it for you. We're talking about another level of motor car here, and this is what I'm talking about with regards to the price, which we'll talk about in the pricing section. This isn't the same as normal cars. This is now occupying a space that used to be occupied by Rolls-Royce and Bentley. So if you're coming from, say, a first generation Rolls-Royce Ghost or a Bentley Flying Spur, and you want to go electric, because you know those manufacturers have yet to go electric, apart from mostly Rolls-Royce with the Spectre. This is the car for you. This is the one, the i7 M70, because what you have is a car that gives you the luxury and the comfort and the refinement and the sort of like the cosseting nature that you've been used to with your Rolls or your Bentley. Because here on this bit of road, the suspension's just, it's not firm. It's like an iron going across a really heavily creased shirt. It just smooths everything out. You've got that, but then you've also got the performance. You've also got the ability to sort of like take it by the scruff of the neck and throw it down, a back road. I'm not even in the sport mode. This is a phenomenal car, and if you thought the standard i7 was brilliant, which it is, by the way, this is on another level. I'm staggered by this car. Yes, it's a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. But by God, it's a lot of car. And it's brilliant. Now, I have to be a little bit careful here with what I say, because a few weeks ago, when I road tested the Audi SQ8 e-tron, I said I thought it represented very poor value for money. And that was only £100,000. Only £100,000. This is a lot more than that. But I don't think that applies here. And I will explain that in a little bit. Bear with me. Right. Starting price for the i7 M70 is £164,000. But this car, this test car here, with the options fitted to it, is £190,905. In other words, the options fitted to this car are more than a base MG4. The only other cost that you're going to have to figure in, however, with this is depreciation, because I have a funny feeling that this car, its value is going to go downhill faster than Kevin Spacey's reputation. That's the only other thing that you're going to maybe have to consider. Now, that value for money question, let me just get back to that for a second here. There's a reason I don't think this is particularly bad value for money, because this occupies a space. The problem with the Audi was it didn't really offer anything more than cars costing a lot less. In other words, they were charging over £100,000 for a car that I didn't think did anything better than even their own Q4 e-tron. They'd say a Jaguar I-Pace at £70,000, even my BMW iX2 in some respects, at 60 grand, which is hardly a bargain. This is different. The i7 occupies, and certainly the M70 occupies a space now that is it's above what normal cars are like, and it's just below solid road. If you remember the Bentley Flying Spur and say the Gen 1 Rolls-Royce Ghost, that's kind of this car. It's that level of luxury. There isn't another car in BMW's range that offers this the combination of luxury, refinement, coupled with performance and handling and stuff, and what you can have on it, than this car. And that's where I'm saying I don't think this is bad value for money at nearly twice the price of the Audi, which is bad value for money. It didn't do anything different to what other cars with less money do. This does. And there's going to still be some of you out there that go, well, that doesn't make any sense at all, Brian, because, I can go and spend £40,000 on a car and be quite happy. I can go and spend £20,000 on the MG4 and it'll do everything I need it to do. Yes, you can. You're exactly right. But in the same way that you can buy a Casio watch that tells the same time as a £27,000 Rolex, but there'll always be someone that will want the £27,000 Rolex and will see the value in that. Do you see what I mean? So in terms of competition for the M70, where does it come from? Well, at the moment, the easiest one to sort of like pigeonhole next to this car is, of course, the Mercedes-AMG EQS 53, because again, it's sort of like a performance-fettled version of the already good Mercedes-Benz EQS, which obviously competes with the standard i7s. It's a flagship Mercedes electric car, so you know, in terms of 7 Series S-Class always competed, so therefore i7 EQS, that's the new kind of rivalry, if you like. So that's the car that sort of like best sort of like sits in the sort of like a similar market space to the i7 M70. But there is going to be more coming on stream as we move forward. And believe it or not, the first one I'm going to mention is Range Rover, because we're about to see an all-electric Range Rover. Now, Range Rover at the moment, in terms of its price point, has moved way up market. I mean, it's very easy to spend £200,000 on a full-fat Range Rover with a petrol engine. So God knows what we'll be able to do with one with an electric motor. So that's going to be a rival in terms of the kind of luxury car side of things. You know, Range Rover is going to be very much a rival for this car. Jaguar. Now Jaguar, they're coming on back. They say, I am worried about Jaguar, if I'm honest, as a brand, personally. And I love Jaguar and I want to see them do well. But they're saying that they're going to move way up market and compete with, you know, sort of like Bentley and such like. So again, an all-electric 4-door saloon, you know, that's going to cost well in excess of 6 figures is what they're suggesting. So that's probably going to be a future rival. And when I was testing the standard i7, I said Maserati, if you think about them, they're introducing their Folgore range, you know, the electrified range of their cars. And the Quattroporte has always been a real rival for the 7 Series and S-Class, you know, they're large saloon cars. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a new Quattroporte Folgore, an electric Quattroporte. So that potentially could be something else to look at. Cadillac, believe it or not, they're coming back to the market space, and of course they're America's kind of luxury brand. Now, whilst they might not be competing at this sort of level at the moment, you know, as they come back to Europe, I don't know, maybe we might see something from Cadillac. Certainly their big sort of like Lyric SUV that I've had a brief glimpse of, I have to suggest, you know, it's looking a little bit more palatable for us Europeans, so perhaps they will bring something in. Who knows? But for the moment, as I say, your two big main rivals for this at the moment are going to be Mercedes-Benz with the AMG EQS 53, and as I say, Range Rover when they introduced the electrified full-fat Range Rover. But as I say, remember, Jaguar, I've got hopes for them, and I really hope that it really pays off for them, so fingers crossed for them. Where we see Bentley sort of like getting this, because I say this to me is sort of like a flying sport type of car, you know, the 4-door Continental GT. That is what I think this particular car really competes with, that sort of level. Will they do an electrified version of the flying sport in the future? Perhaps. Watch this space. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the BMW i7 M70. What we like, its comfort and refinement paired with excellent dynamics. The space on offer, the interior ambience, quality and luxury. It has good range and decent efficiency for the size of car it is, and the use of different materials within the interior. We don't like, well, the styling is still controversial. The surprising lack of conversation around sustainable materials, despite the fact that it does use them. The fact that it takes some time to learn where some basic controls are in the operating system, and some basic functions are buried too deep in the menus. And of course, depreciation is likely to be eye-watering. Let me cut right to the chase. This is unquestionably one of the finest motor cars that's available on sale today. It is not a question of whether or not the i7 is a good car, because it is, and it's a better car than its main rival from Mercedes-Benz, the EQS. That is without doubt. What the main question is, whether or not the M70 is worth it over the standard i7. And to that I would say this, to our gentleman who wrote in before that must spend £200,000 on a new electric motor car, in our opinion, there is only one car that you can do that on. This one. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, make sure you've pressed the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way you get a notification of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed this week's video, then please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. I have a funny feeling you're going to about this one. Do you think it's worth spending £200,000 on a new BMW i7? Because let's be fair, it is pretty much 200 grand, isn't it? Or do you think you'd spend it elsewhere? But as I say, bear in mind how good this car actually is. Remember, we're also across all social media platforms as well. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, LinkedIn. So please give us a follow there, because that does help us as well. And if you are in the market for a new or maybe a pre-owned electric car, and you need to know all the details before you go and sign on the dotted line, then why don't you stick on the AutoEV YouTube channel? Because if there's been a new electric car that's been launched in the UK in the last 5 years, we've road tested it and put it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car. Obviously the AutoEV one. So you'll get all the gory details that you need before parting with your hard-earned cash there. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you for continuing to support AutoEV. I'll see you again soon.